So for this video, you can call it a shape or a concept, but it's going to be a lot more general and something you can apply to a lot of different situations, but I'll show some in the video. So if you have this shape, it kind of looks like it's hard to do anything on your tail, but what you can do is you can throw in an extra Puyo in this spot, as long as it's not yellow or green. Technically, green would work in this case though. And then when you do that, you can put the yellow on top to connect with the yellow L here. So it can be a bit tricky to see this type of connection where you like intentionally throw in an extra Puyo and then add in the color on top. And then when you do this, you can connect the blues after in any way you want. So as long as you put 3 blues somewhere, they're going to connect. And this is one example of this, but it comes up a lot. So for example, if you have this shape and you wanted to make a chain out of it, well, you can't put the yellow here, but you can put any color that's not yellow or green here, and then put the yellow on top, and then you can put the color on the bottom, like around here, to connect it after. So there's that. And then to look at some more examples of how you might use this idea, if you have a chain like this, well, you could put like green and then blue. That would work. But you could also put, say, red and then blue. And it would have to be red in this case because the yellows would double. So if you did this with the yellow, it's going to double. But if you put the red, it'll just be a chain. So you can use the idea of like throwing in an extra Puyo. Here it has to be red again. And then put the blue on top. And then you can also do the same thing and connect the reds here. And then add in the yellow and the green after and chain that way. There's a lot of flexibility in like where the reds can go and where the yellow can go. Like the red can go here, here, here. Well, if you want to be fancy. That's not the only way you can do this. So if your chain was set up like this, now it looks like you're kind of stuck because you have to double the blues in order to connect your chain. But you can use the same idea of like throwing in an extra Puyo and then adding the blue on top. And here it's a bit harder to see that it'll work, but it works the same way. So if you can understand the concept, you might be able to recognize there's like a lot of situations where you can use this type of idea. Here, if you want to actually use this red, you have to do something fancy like this. But that's not the point here. And finally, if you had a shape like this, again, it's very similar. Like if you didn't have the blue here, you could put a different color and then put green, and then trigger the reds, and then you could put that color again, and you could put the blue, then the yellow, then the green. Or you could, or if you already have the blue there, you can put like here you can't put yellow because it's going to cut, just like so. You'll see it's very similar to the previous example, just in a slightly different location on the board, but it'll cut like that if you use yellow. So if you use a different color that's not yellow, so red in this case, you'll have a chain. And again, you can throw in the reds after if you want. And the yellow could go in a lot of places, and then the green. So you can do that. And if you really wanted to, well, it wouldn't work because it's green. But you could like keep going with that idea. But The key idea is that there are situations like this where it might look like it's hard to use these blues efficiently, but you can solve some of them by throwing in an extra Puyo and then using the column drop there to connect it in a chain. And then that Puyo that's left over can often be used as another link later on.